In the summer of 1970, the eyes of America turned toward Los Angeles. The man seated at the defense table was not a politician, not a businessman, but a self-proclaimed prophet, Charles Manson. Around him sat three young women, his so-called daughters of the Manson family, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten. Their crime? Participating in one of the most gruesome murder sprees of the 20th century, the Tate LaBianca killings. But what unfolded in the courtroom was not just a trial for murder. It became a trial of ideology, of blind devotion, of a cult that had shaken the nation to its core. From the beginning, the trial defied expectation. The prosecution, led by Vincent Bugliosi, knew he had to do more than prove murder. He had to prove Manson's influence, his command over others, and the twisted doctrine that turned ordinary young people into killers. Charles Manson entered the courtroom with a carved X on his forehead. Days later, his followers mirrored him, cutting the same symbol into their skin. To the jury, it was a terrifying sight. To the world, it was a symbol of control, a Kai, man so powerful he could command devotion even inside a courtroom. The atmosphere was electric, almost theatrical. Reporters filled the gallery, sketch artists captured the drama, and outside the courthouse, Manson supporters gathered daily, chanting songs, shaving their heads, and burning candles. For many, it seemed less like a trial and more like the staging of a dark performance. But beneath the spectacle, the evidence was horrifyingly real. The details of the Tate murders shocked even seasoned law enforcement. Actress Sharon Tate, 8 months pregnant, butchered in her own home. Businessman Leno LaBianca and his wife Rosemary, tortured and slain in their Los Feliz house. The word pig scrawled in blood on walls, symbols of a war Manson claimed was coming, helter-skelter, his prophecy of racial apocalypse. And so began what would become one of the longest and most notorious trials in American history. The trial stretched on for months, and the chaos only deepened. Manson often tried to represent himself, launching bizarre rants, singing in court, even threatening the judge. At one point, he leapt toward the bench, forcing bailiffs to restrain him. His followers, seated beside him, giggled, sang, or stared blankly at the jury, as if hypnotized. Witness testimony was no less chilling. Linda Kasabian, a former member of the family who turned state's witness, described in vivid detail how Manson's orders led directly to the slaughter. She recalled the night of August 8, 1969, how Tex Watson, Atkins, and Krenwinkel broke into Sharon Tate's home, how she, Kasabian, stood frozen as screams echoed through the Hollywood Hills. The defense strategy bordered on madness. Manson's lawyers argued that he had no direct hand in the killings, that his followers acted on their own. But the prosecution dismantled this argument, showing how every move, every word, stemmed from Manson's influence. The family lived for him, killed for him, and would die for him. Outside the courthouse, the spectacle continued. Loyal members carved crosses into their foreheads, camped on the sidewalk, and threatened witnesses. Some even attempted to kill those who spoke against their leader. America had never seen anything like it, a cult acting in unison, bound by fear and devotion, even as the law closed in around them. The jury watched carefully, disturbed not only by the evidence, but by the atmosphere of intimidation. When Susan Atkins, in a moment of bizarre pride, boasted of stabbing Sharon Tate as the actress begged for her baby's life, the courtroom gasped. Manson smirked. "Don't forget, your subscription is what motivates us to keep working, creating new stories and growing this channel." By the fall of 1970, it was clear this was no ordinary trial. It was a cultural earthquake, one that exposed the dark side of the 1960s, the end of the hippie dream, and the dangers of absolute devotion to a false prophet. As the prosecution presented its case, Bugliosi meticulously built the narrative of Manson as puppet master. He used Manson's own words, recorded by former followers, where he described a coming race war, helter-skelter, a prophecy stolen from Beatles, lyrics and twisted into a doctrine of murder. Bugliosi argued that Manson believed the murders would ignite chaos, allowing him and his family to rise as rulers of the ashes. The defense faltered. When witnesses described Manson's bizarre rituals at the EO, Spahn Ranch, drug-fueled orgies, sermons about death, Hand rehearsals for killing, the defense had little to counter. The jury sat in silence, absorbing the picture of a man who turned peace and love idealism into blood and terror. Even within the courthouse, Manson's control was evident. His followers outside attempted to poison food meant for witnesses. Others brandished knives and tried to break into the building. At night, they sang songs outside the jailhouse, their voices carrying into the dark Los Angeles air. By December, the weight of the evidence was overwhelming. Bugliosi's closing arguments seared into the jury's minds. Without Charles Manson, there would have been no murders. And yet the drama was not over. In a shocking moment, the three female defendants, Atkins, Krenwinkel, and Van Houten, rose in unison, chanting, laughing, and declaring Manson's innocence. They sang Manson's songs, claiming they had killed of their own free will. The courtroom froze. To the world, it was proof of Manson's terrifying grip, a house spell cast over souls that even prison bars could not break. Remember, your support through subscribing inspires us to continue bringing you these chilling stories and developing our project further. The trial was not simply about crime. It was about power, manipulation, and the darkest corners of human devotion. On January 25, 1971, after 9 months of testimony, the jury returned its verdict guilty. Charles Manson and his followers were convicted of 7 counts of murder. For a moment, silence hung heavy in the courtroom. Then came the sentencing, death. The women smiled. Manson carved his X deeper. Outside, his followers wept and vowed revenge. The sentence would not stand forever. In 1972, California abolished the death penalty, and Manson's sentence was commuted to life in prison. He would spend the rest of his days behind bars, a symbol of evil, his face and words haunting generations to come. But the trial remained etched in history. It was more than a legal proceeding. It was a confrontation between society and the madness born from one man's delusions. The trial of the Manson family revealed how fragile the line is between freedom and fanaticism, how charisma can be weaponized, and how justice, though delayed and challenged, can prevail. The cult was broken, but the scars it left on America never healed. The Tate LaBianca murders remain a wound, and the trial a reminder of the dangers of blind devotion. Stay safe.